When you talk about these protesters, you said these are bad, bad people. We're going to take our country back from these people. Who are these people in that case?
Well, I see people in the audience that I don't think they have a great future. I think they're disruptors. I think they are not in love with our country.
Oh, boy. Republican strategist and CBS News contributor Frank Luntz is here. Frank, good morning. This is so disturbing and so hard to watch. And I think that there's enough blame to go around for everybody. Listen, the protesters ought to be able to protest, and Donald Trump ought to be able to be heard by people who want to hear them.
Exactly.
So how did we get here?
We got here because people lost respect for each other's point of view. We got here because the incivility, which has been rising over the past few years, has finally bubbled over. And look, you can be angry. And we know that 70% of Americans are angry, but that doesn't give you the right to shut someone down, and it doesn't give you the right to get physical with people. And the problem is we need every one of these candidates. And if I could wave a magic wand, I would have all 6 of them today, before tomorrow night's primary, make a commitment. No violence, no destruction, and a respect for freedom of speech.
But, Frank, so far, Donald Trump has not done that. In fact, he says he doesn't condone the violence, but he says, I will pay legal bills.
He needs to do it. The fact is he needs to do it.
He needs to pay for their legal bills?
No, he needs to make a commitment to say, because this is beyond the pale.
Yeah.
This is unacceptable. When you actually encourage people to act in an aggressive way, then you know that it's gone too far. And the problem that I have with all of this is that this is going to set the tone for events to go forward. We don't have an end point here. We had this conversation 6 months ago and again 3 months ago. And when we had this conversation, it was all about, well, maybe I'm overestimating the problem. I think I'm underestimating it. And if we don't do something about it, it is going to get even worse. And
someone's going to get hurt or killed.
Exactly.
Frank, I don't think you need a magic wand. 5 of the candidates have already denounced the violence. There's one candidate who's not denouncing, and that's the front runner for the Republican Party. Is there a discussion within the Republican Party, the leadership, including the chairman, Reince Priebus, and other thoughtful leaders in the party, about taking a stand on violence?
They need to. And I don't know if there's been a discussion, but it has to happen. And by the way, it should have happened on Saturday. It should have happened right after. And the second point here is
I'm thinking about like the moment that Nikki Haley had after the Confederate flag in the shooting in South Carolina. That moment where a grown-up stands up and said, no, it's time. This has been a wrong stance by our party. Let's take down that flag in South Carolina. Is there a moment for someone with great respect in the Republican Party that could have an impact?
To be the hero here.
Yeah, but I mean,
the problem is there's so much chaos within the Republican Party right now. There is no leader. It's hard to find an elder statesman. Normally it would have been John McCain or Mitt Romney. We've seen what's happened to them when they entered into the fray. It backfired on both of them.
But there's been, as you said, been a chorus of people who said, we've got to stop this. We can't do this. It may be out of control. I mean, so the question is whether one person or several persons can do it. I mean, somebody has to talk to Donald Trump and his supporters. And we need to know who the protesters are and why they're there and understand what's going on.
But the other part of this is that they were trying to get as many tickets as they could to prevent people who really wanted to hear Donald Trump speak.
Who was?
The protesters. This was part of the MoveOn.org strategy, was to deny Trump people who wanted to hear him. This is what I'm telling people to do.
They should be allowed to hear him. I get it.
In fact, I'm actually encouraging people to go to a Trump rally because it's unlike anything I've ever seen. I've been doing this for 25 years now.
How is it unlike anything you've ever seen?
There are people there who are attending their first political rally. There are people there who had given up on politics and are now actually thinking that something can happen. And it is more boisterous. It is more passionate. And it's different from anything I've seen.
But you have a candidate who says, I'm not whipping up the crowd, and then you show sound bites that show quite the opposite. So what do you do when the candidate himself doesn't say, I'm encouraging people?
You put pressure on the candidate to say, this is the line, do not cross it, and he's not done that as of this point.
And does it scare you?
More than you can imagine, because I know the trajectory of this, and that's why I wanted to do this segment, because it's going to get worse.
Thank you, Frank.
You know Donald Trump. You talk to him. Thank you, Frank Luntz. Good to see you.